recording this session for the colleagues that could not join us, and we will be uploading the recording to the Moodle community under the 3-minute thesis competition tab so that you can refer to it also when you are preparing your submissions. Okay, so to officially welcome you to the 3-minute thesis competition information session hosted by the University of Johannesburg and the Research Capacity Development Unit. My name is Dr. Chandra Pillay, and I will be the coordinator for this competition, so you'll be hearing a lot from me. I would like to start off by thanking you all for attending the session, especially because it's academic recess. Just wanted to get a head start. And most importantly, I would like to thank Ms. Odifense Lahasa, who is the 2023 UJ 3-minute competition thesis winner. She is our guest speaker today, and she will be sharing her experience of what the 3-minute thesis competition was for her and how it has helped her, and basically just her experience overall. So yeah, a round of applause for her. She will be speaking a little bit after I explain what the competition is about. So if you do have questions during the session, please raise your hand because we will have to unmute you first. And as I mentioned, the session will be recorded and uploaded to Moodle. And we may please request for you to fill out the feedback form, which will be posted in the comment section. Sorry. Okay, so to kick off, my slides are visible, yes. So we'll start off by giving a little bit of a background of what the 3-minute thesis competition is about. It's basically for doctoral students, and it was developed by the University of Queensland. And it is an opportunity to present your research, to learn communication skills, digital literacy, and you do this by using one static slide. So just one slide, no animations, and you present your research in 3 minutes to a non-specialist audience, meaning this is people from different walks of life, different disciplines, and fields of research. And I mentioned the benefits. It's communication and engagement of research, basically building your skills as a researcher and as a student, networking and collaborations, mainly because this competition is hosted at different levels, which I will speak about on the next slide, which ties into international recognition and peer review, and basically professional development opportunities from the people you meet and are up against in these competitions, as well as the panel of reviewers. So these are the competition levels. It is first hosted at your university. And for us, it's going to happen on the 23rd of August, and it is a physical competition. We then move on to the national level, which is hosted by the University of Free State this year. And this is where the first and second place from each university goes on to compete at this level. So if you are a winner in our leg of the race, you then move on to this competition, which will be hosted on the 25th of October. Then the main or the biggest competition, which is the international competition, is hosted by Universitas 21. And this is where the first place from each university moves on to this leg. And it's an online, it's not necessarily a physical competition. Your video gets sent through to U21 and they upload it to a repository where people get to vote. And so the winner then gets announced on the 20th of January of next year. And then the fourth competition is actually not tied to any of these 3 levels. It's more of a side competition that the South African community and the Nordic community have put together. So they also have a separate competition, I would like to say, and the first winners from each university compete at this level, and Ms. Odifense will be competing at this level this year for 2024. And who is eligible to apply? It's basically PhD and professional doctorate researchers. that are still currently enrolled and have not graduated. For our specific institutional process, I'm sure many of you have seen the Moodle announcement with the flyer. We do have round 1, which closes on the 26th with all your submissions. We then provide you feedback on the 9th of August. Then you get to go back to your presentation and review it and make the changes. And then your final submissions are due on the 16th of August. However, sorry, I miscommunicated. Round 2 is where we also tell these students that they've been selected or not. So the selected students then move on to round 3. And our physical competition date is on the 23rd of August. So what I also failed to mention in the beginning was at each level of the competition, there are prizes, and I will speak only to the UJ one for now. If you would like to find out more about the other prizes, in the entrant pack, you will find links to the hosting university's website where they will tell you the prizes. So for UJ, the first place prize is 10, second is 7,000, third is 5, and then we also have a People's Choice Award, which is 3,000, and all the winners will receive prize certificates, trophies, and presentation checks, and the participants will also receive certificates. So before I move on to the actual resources, does anybody have any questions so far? Seems like we all good. Okay, we do have a hand up. Let me just unmute you. Thandakazi, you may go ahead.
Thank you so much. I just want to get clarity. So can PhD part-time students apply who are also academic staff?
Your PhD is part-time or full-time?
Part-time.
I think it's allowed, but don't take my word for it. Let me check with the international committee first. But I know if you're an academic staff, you have to sign a disclaimer. As long as it's not a conflict of interest, you are not a part of the organizing committee, it will be fine. But I will take your name down and email you after the session.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Any other questions? Yes, Laurie. You may go ahead.
Hi, yes, sorry, I just wanted to say, could you include me on that? Because that applies to myself as well.
Okay. I honestly don't think it's a problem, but I need to check first. I would like to give you all the official statement from the University of Queensland.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Laurie and Thandakazi, got you. And just going to mute Jade's mic. You may go ahead. Jade, you may go ahead.
Oh, hi, good morning. Can you also include me as well on that email?
Got you. I think what I'll do is I'll just email everyone with a summary of all questions that we have answered today.
Okay.
If that may be better.
All right,
Thank
no
you.
problem. Thank you.
Thank you for actually asking that question. I will double check. Okay, no more questions for now. So I will move on how to download the resources. So this is also on the Moodle community. I just want to, by a show of hands, if people are familiar with our community and where to go. And by a show of hands now, again, who is not familiar and would actually, instead of using the screenshots, would actually like me to go to Ulink. Okay, we seem fine. Okay, sure. So again, just to quickly go through the process, log into Ulink, then you go to the Moodle tab, and you go to My Courses, and all of you should be enrolled into this if you are getting our communications. And then this should pop up after you've clicked into it. Oh, sorry. I think the slides are timed. And then you navigate to the 3-minute thesis competition tab. This will open up. Then you scroll down, you find the assignment section. You click on that title. It would then take you to this page. And these are all the documents you need to download. And I'd like you guys to pay careful attention to the entrant pack. It has all the information that you will need, including screenshots of the submission documents and guidelines for that. And okay, you guys have registered for the information session. So it's downloading of the resources at this part. Then you start preparing your submission. So with the resources provided and files to submit, firstly, it's the entrant pack. It has all the information. Attached to that Moodle call is the abstract, and this will be used for the reviewers to go through your background research to assess your submission. As I mentioned, this is a non-specialist audience, so the panel of reviewers will also be a non-specialist reviewer, in a sense, to go through your presentation next to your abstract as well. And then there are PowerPoint template slides. I'm not sure if anybody has seen it yet. There is a title slide where you have to add your name, your details, and a picture of yourself. And then the second slide is your content slide, which will be used to make your presentation. So for the voiceover part, I just wanted to mention the voiceover will only take part on the content slide, so you don't have to introduce yourself. Your title slide will be there, and I will be the one introducing you on the day. So we will only count 3 minutes from the time that you start speaking about your content. So just to help us, we have asked for you guys to add a voiceover to ensure that on the day we know what to expect and not to go over the time limit, as the time limit is one of the disqualifiers and you will get penalized if you go over 3 minutes. And then we have a script template, which you'll basically just write down whatever you said during the voiceover. And this is also just to help us catch if anything was unclear on the voiceover. We then have our terms and conditions agreement. This is to be signed by you and your supervisor to ensure IP rights have been discussed and you have approval to disseminate your research. I just wanted to point out with this part specifically, your supervisor has to sign off on your presentation. They should actually help you prepare if they can, but they need to be aware what you are presenting. And sometimes in different disciplines, the information you are presenting is sensitive information as well as probably unpublished, and you don't want the work to get out before you have published it. And then lastly, we had a registration form link for the application. Just to have for our records, we also ask you about your dietary requirements and that sort of thing. So I'm also going to stop here just in case anybody wants to see the actual templates that I'm referring to. And just by a show of hands. Let me unmute you. Hi. Would you like me to show all of the documents or just a specific one? I have unmuted your mic. I think it was, I might not be saying your name correctly, but it's Kurt. Oh, okay. The abstract and PowerPoint. Okay. So the first is the abstract. Oops. Okay, visible, right? So this is the abstract. Basically, you'll fill your name, surname, faculty, department, all those types of details, your title, and your author list. Again, you will check with your supervisor who needs to be acknowledged as part of this project, your department, your email address, keywords. And then this is the body of your abstract. So we've put it in a format where you don't have to change anything in terms of the margins, the spacing, the font size. And the referencing, we have also set it that way so that you just have to input the information. And this is because we use this abstract as well in a program booklet so that they all look standardized. And I have to stress that your abstract should only take up this page. Okay, and then the next was the PowerPoint. So these are the PowerPoint slides. This is the title slide I was mentioning. You'll just fill in your name. You remove these things, basically, but don't remove it before you fill your name because then the font and things like that will go off. You'll write your name, then remove the term name, department, faculty, university, 3MT title, and then add a picture of yourself there. And then this is the content slide. So again, we are going to get to the rules, but everything should be on the slide. Is that all right? I'll just move on to the competition rules. Okay, sorry, we have one question. Jade, yes. Oh, okay, that was a thumbs up. Okay, and then the competition rules. So as the name suggests, your presentation can only be 3 minutes. You will be disqualified if it's not. And this means 3 minutes of spoken word, no poems, raps, or songs. The presentation, as I mentioned, starts when you start speaking. And you may only use the template that we provided. And this is because of branding rules by the University of Queensland and the competition altogether. Your content slide is a single static PowerPoint slide, meaning no slide transitions, animations, or movement. And no, oh, sorry, it's cut off there. No additional electronic media. So no sound and no video files. And no props. I guess your only prop will be your hand movements. And just as a disclaimer, since we have to say it, that the decision of the panel is final. But you will find all of this information in the entry pack, and it might seem overwhelming right now, but you guys will get through it. And to speak to that, we have Ms. Odifense next. I'm going to actually play you her video so you can get a sense of what 3MT is actually about and all these competition rules I've been telling you and how it comes together. This was her submission. You presented here at the University of Johannesburg a spoken word, but when it goes to the international level, we also record the presentation with you. So this is what was submitted by her to the international level.
Imagine you and your friend wanted to create a new Lego toy. The best way to do this would be to take your existing Lego toys, break them apart, and then build a new toy using the pieces of the original toys. What if I told you that the same thing can be achieved in drug discovery? The drug discovery and development process takes 10 to 15 years to produce one successful drug. With the number of people suffering from chronic diseases worldwide, finding new treatments needs to be improved significantly. With over 1 billion affected adults, hypertension or high blood pressure is the most critical health condition and main risk factor for developing cardiovascular, kidney, and other related diseases. Although effective hypertension drugs exist, only 1 in 5 people with hypertension have their condition under control. This is partly because treatments for chronic diseases are designed as one size fits all. Unfortunately, the problem with the one-size-fits-all approach for hypertension is that it does not work for people with treatment resistance or non-response. Fragmentation-based drug discovery is an innovative and efficient approach to early-stage drug discovery. Like building toy sets, this approach aims to design new drugs using pieces of other existing drugs known as fragments. Our study demonstrates the value of fragment-based and AI-enabled design for hypertension. Just like Lego toys, we took existing hypertension drugs and broke them into smaller pieces using fragmentation. We then combined those pieces or fragments into new sequences and managed to develop a new set of potential hypertension drugs. With the help of AI, this process can be repeated to generate and screen hundreds of thousands of potential drugs. What previously took years can now be done in minutes. We believe that our study is a step towards the timely and efficient development of new drugs that can be personalized to individual patients and their treatment response. In future, our method can be used to design new drugs for other health conditions that have limited treatment options or treatments with low success rates. Thank you.
And with that, I'll hand you over to Ms. Odifense. Thank you for joining us, and well done again.
Hi, Dr. Pillay. Thank you so much for inviting me. Can you please confirm if you can see my screen?
Sorry, I'm just going to stop sharing. I think you can share now.
Okay. Let me just, it wants my password, sorry. Just want to unlock. Okay, let's do that. And okay, I hope it works now. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, visible.
Okay. Good morning, Dr. Pillay, and good morning, everyone else. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come and talk to everyone this morning. Firstly, I wasn't expecting the video to be played here, I must admit. And it is a bit strange to watch yourself on video, and even just to hear your own voice is a bit strange. And so what I wanted to discuss this morning is perhaps my journey into why I applied for the 3-minute thesis, and then to share some tips on what I think you or the candidates would want to consider when preparing for this year's competition. And then perhaps at the end, we can open up for any questions if anyone wants to put forward any questions or comments. Okay, my name is Odifense Lehasa. I'm from the Institute for Systems at UJ. And my research, or this was the cover, it's called the title page of my 3MT application. And so the title changed after some time, but essentially it was fragment-based design of new hypertension drugs aided by artificial intelligence. So why I applied for the 3-minute thesis is because I had watched the Visualize Your Thesis competition, which had happened previously, or I think a month or two before the 3MT competition. And I sat there watching all these people presenting their work, and I was so inspired by them and inspired by their confidence to just come across and speak to people about their study. And I think a lot of you can relate when I say that the PhD journey is a difficult journey, and it's lonely most of the times. And at times you start to wonder, why am I doing this? You know, because it's a really tough journey that taxes your mental health, to be honest. And so at times you start wondering, why am I doing this? Or why did I embark on this journey? And so I was at a period in my life, which was last year, actually around about this time, maybe May or April, where I was asking myself, why did I sign up for this? You know, because it was a year and a half into my PhD, and I was really just really stressed out and asking myself a bunch of questions about my research. And so then I watched the Visualize Your Thesis competition online, and I saw all these people who were so passionate about their research, just talking about it. And I said, wow, I want to do that. I want to get to a stage where I can passionately stand up in front of people and talk to them about my research. And so then I said, you know what, next year I'm going to apply for the VOIT competition. But then, lo and behold, a month or so later, an advert came out for the 3-minute thesis competition. And I'd never heard of a 3-minute thesis competition before. And so I joined the information session and I said, you know, what's the worst that can happen? Let me just find out what it's about. And if it's not for me, then I won't apply. But if it is for me, then let's just take a chance. And so after the information session, I then watched a few videos of previous 3-minute thesis competition winners. And I said, you know what, Odie, you're going through a time in your research journey where you're not sure about why you're doing this. And you're questioning even your research topic, you're questioning so many things. Maybe this could be the challenge that you need to just spark up your passion again, you know, for you to rediscover why it is that you signed up for this PhD. So my core reason for applying to the 3-minute thesis was essentially to challenge myself to go out there and share my research with people so as to rediscover my passion again, because as I said, I was going through a time where I wasn't feeling very inspired anymore. And so I said, you know, let's just apply, record the video, send them the abstract, put together the PowerPoint. If they don't like it, then it's fine. No one has to know. And so that's literally what I did. I didn't even tell anyone that I was applying. Of course, I told my supervisor, but I didn't tell any family or friends that I was applying. I didn't show them anything. I just put it together secretly and I applied because I wasn't sure if it would get accepted. And then only once it was accepted, then I told them that, oh, this is something that I'm doing. Can you help me out? So that was my reason for applying. And so once I started preparing for the actual competition, these are some of the things that I started noting, or now in hindsight, these are some of the things that I remember doing when I was preparing, and some of the things that the tips that we were given at the information session, which I put to work. The first one is, be the expert. At the end of the day, you are the only person who knows your work the way you know your work. You are the expert in this area or in your research topic. As much as you may think that other people know more than you, because you've gone through this journey of, call it, in my instance, 1.5 years of every single day reading and writing and reading and writing, I the expert in that area. Yes, you have a supervisor and other people in your field who may know what's going on, but they don't know it to the depth that you do. So come across as the expert. Present your work with confidence, knowing that you are the person who knows this work better than anyone else. So embrace this opportunity and teach the audience about your work. At the end of the day, people are really interested to find out what you're doing. So stand there with confidence and embrace this opportunity and teach them. Then you also want to approach this as an elevator pitch, because you do only have 3 minutes, right? So an elevator pitch in business is typically when an entrepreneur will pitch their idea quickly in a minute or so to a potential funder, right? Or a potential business partner for funding. So approach this in the same way. Discuss your study as if you were pitching it or pitching a business for funding, right? So make it interesting. Discuss what the problem is, and then discuss how you have come up with a solution to solve this problem and why this problem or the solution is significant. Number 2, simple is key. Ensure that your research is easy to understand and that it's not targeted at an academic audience. A mistake that most people make is that they try and come across as very academic, for lack of a better word. So they use scientific terms, they use they use jargon that is specific to their field. But at the end of the day, the audience at the 3-minute thesis competition is not made up of people in your field. So you have to present and package your presentation in such a way that anyone, even somebody off the side of the road, can understand what your research is about. So avoid using jargon or scientific terms unless it is necessary to explain your solution. And then what I also found to be really useful is to use relatable examples or analogies. Talk about things that people can relate to. So for example, in my presentation, I used Lego toys, because Lego toys are, even though you've never played with Lego toys, everyone knows what a Lego toy is, or they've seen somebody playing with it, or they themselves, when they were a child, played with Lego toys. So I use that as the anchor of my presentation, because I know that people can relate to toys, and then I linked the toys with my study so that my study is not too complex for people to understand. They can always just refer back to the example of the toys and then understand my study through the lens of the toys. So make sure that you use examples or an analogy that people can understand. Current affairs, or even school, things that everyone comes across. And then I say, if your mom can understand it, then you're good to go. And I say this because I had to run my presentation past my mom. For the longest time, in the first year of my studies, my parents had no idea what my research was about. I just mentioned words like drug discovery, artificial intelligence, hypertension, and they were completely lost, you know. So this was also a challenge for me to try and explain to them what my research is about in a way that they would understand. And so after presenting it to my mom and having her understand, then I knew for a fact that anyone else I explained it to would have a grasp of what it is that my study is about. Number 3, make sure that your slide is clear and uncluttered. I know when people go to research conferences, they'll have slides that are very, very packed with information because they want to cover everything from the background to the significance to the method and all of that. But for the purpose of the 3-minute thesis, you want to make sure that your slide is clean and uncluttered, because you don't want the viewer to be distracted by how interesting your slide is and forget to listen to your presentation. So you want the slides to communicate the key points of your research, but also you want them to have time to listen to you as the presenter. Number 4, have fun and be authentic. This is your opportunity to share your research with the world. As you're endeavoring on your journey, your PhD journey, as I said, it at times gets lonely because it's you and your supervisor just working on this thing and no one else knows what you're doing. So this is a really, really
Yeah, I think we may have lost her for a little bit.
sorry about that. Am I back?
Yes.
Okay, I hope you can still see the screen.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I was saying have fun and be authentic. This is your opportunity to finally share your research with the world beyond just you and your supervisor. Have a look at previous 3MT videos from UJ, as well as others that you can find on YouTube. This really worked for me because it gave me a better understanding of what's expected of me and the language that I'm supposed to use and the types of visuals I can put across and the types of analogies that I can use. This really, really helped a lot. Number 5, highlight the significance of your study. So what is the societal impact of your study? How will your research make the world a better place? So you want to explain what the impact of your study is. The judges, if you don't mention it, the judges will ask you what makes your research significant or what makes your research unique. So you want to make sure that you cover that in your presentation so that it's clear to them why your research matters. As much as this is a competition, an institutional competition or an academic competition, at the end of the day, all the research that we're doing at a PhD and master's level should be contributing to society in one way or another. So you want to share that and make that very, very clear. Number 6, practice and get feedback. I can't stress this enough. Practice, practice, practice. I know you'll have a script that you'll have you'd have submitted beforehand. Make sure that you study it and study it and study it, because you don't want to get to the front and start reading from cue cards, or you get stuck, or you go over time, because then you get penalized, as Dr. Pillay had mentioned. So practice, practice, practice. What I did is I had my script initially and I was studying it, and I'd record myself. And as much as it is cringy to listen to your own voice, it really helps to time you and to give you a sense of what you sound like, or what you will sound like to the audience. So record yourself and listen to that audio recording, and then fix whatever needs to be fixed and record yourself again and again and again. Once you're then confident with your presentation, go to a friend or family member, specifically somebody who knows nothing about your work or who's not in your field, and present your presentation to them and pitch it to them and ask them for feedback. Ask them to give you tips on how to improve, and ask them to even ask you questions, because this will help to simulate what will happen on the day of the competition. This for me really helped, because at first I had written out a script which I thought was very clear, very simple, and explained my research perfectly. But once I actually presented it to my friend, then I realized that it's actually very technical, and he didn't understand some of the terms I was using, and he didn't really get a good grasp of my research. And so he then gave me tips to say, no, maybe simplify this area, explain that a bit more so that people understand. And so that really, really helped me to simplify my presentation. Number 7, be ready for questions. I did not know that there would be questions on the day, I must admit. I thought you just go there, you present it, and then you're done. Actually, what I thought is you go up there and you play a recording of you presenting, and then you're done. But actually what happens is you go up in front of an audience and you give your presentation. And then there's a panel of judges and an audience, online and in person, who ask you questions. So be prepared for questions. Don't be afraid of questions. In fact, use it as an opportunity to go in depth and explain your study further. Initially, I was a bit apprehensive when I started seeing the judges asking other people questions. But then when it was my turn, when they asked me questions, I realized that, oh, this is wonderful, because these are things that I couldn't unpack in my presentation because it's only 3 minutes. But now I can go into depth and I'm not timed. So I remember, I think I had 3 or 4 people asking questions, and I made sure to milk that opportunity and just go on and on and on about the different things that we've done in the study so far. And I think, or my mom says, because she was in the audience, she says for her, that's what sealed it, is when I answered the questions. That for her is what finally confirmed that, no, this is a good presentation. Because when you answer the questions, you show the audience that you actually know your work. And you show them that this is not just a concept that you're thinking of, but it's actually something that is doable and something that you are working on or you have already achieved. And be charismatic. Don't be timid or intimidated by the questions. Be excited and you know, show them that you're really, really passionate about this thing. And lastly, remember that it's a competition, so you must bring your A game. It's fun, yes, but at the end of the day, there is money to be won. So put your best foot forward and make sure that you're at least putting yourself forward to get the prize money. 10,000 Rand is a huge amount of money. You know, you don't just get 10,000 Rand from walking on the side of the road. And yet the 3-minute thesis competition has made it possible for you to get 10,000 Rand from a 3-minute presentation. So put your best foot forward and prepare and prepare. Lastly, what I wanted to just cover is what I've gained from participating in this competition. What I've gained, the main thing that is my takeaway that I've gained from participating is that renewed sense of passion for my research. As I mentioned earlier, that I was going through a slump in my journey and I needed that boost of energy. And it certainly provided me with that. Even if I hadn't won, it would have still provided me with that boost of passion that I needed. And considering that I was only halfway through my PhD journey, I really needed that boost to keep me going until the end. Secondly, it made me more confident in my research and more confident about the work that we're doing. It made me appreciate how important our research is, because as much as my research was between my supervisor and I, after presenting at the 3-minute thesis competition, I realized that this research is much bigger than us. And actually, it stands to gain, or it stands to add value to society. So it also gave me that confidence to know that this is an important study and the responsibility to say, I need to take it seriously because the value of this study can benefit society greatly. And of course, the financial gain from winning the prize money was amazing. At the time, my parents were both retrenched, and so the prize money came in really handy. I just gave it to my parents, and that helped a great deal. And lastly, as Dr. Pillay mentioned, that the networking that you get to do from the people in the audience who ask questions, you end up seeing potential collaborations there. And I can confidently say that I made some important connections with people from the chemistry department who then assisted in other ways, exposing me to tools, softwares that they use in the chemistry department, as well as giving us ideas to say, this study shouldn't just be theoretical, but we can actually take it further by collaborating with chemistry, where they would then synthesize or develop the drugs that we've come up with nationally. So that really helped a great deal. And going to the national level and the international level is also for your exposure and for your academic CV, to put that on your CV to say, I have competed at a national level or an international level, is really great for your CV. Then lastly, I know you've seen it on the video that Dr. Pillay played, but I thought maybe I should just end off with the slide that I applied with. So this is the slide that I used for my 3MT competition. Initially, before getting feedback from my friends and family, it was just pictures. And when I showed it to them, they said, okay, these pictures don't make sense. Maybe put a heading, maybe put labels underneath, and then maybe put arrows to show that this is a process. And so that's how their feedback contributed to my slide. And why I wanted to show you my slide again is to stress the importance of making it fun, making it visual, and making it interesting for your viewer, for the audience as well. I didn't put down any technical terms or any models that we used in my PhD. I just put pictures of Lego toys and tried to explain my research using these toys. So when somebody sees my presentation, it immediately grabs their attention to say, oh, I know what that is. Those are toys. And then to then find out that those toys are actually telling a story of drug discovery makes it that much more interesting. So this is just one example out of many of how you can also package your slide in such a way that it is interesting, but also still communicates what your research study is about. And that's all from me for now, but I'm open to any questions or comments if there are any.
Thank you so much. I think we can all see why Ms. Odivense won first place, and she has probably articulated, I think, all the information that I've given you into a much more practical example, coming from someone that went through the whole process and also competed at the different levels. So thank you very much. And Ms. Odivense, as I mentioned, is competing at the CEAN-ODD level this year, and we would like to wish her all the best for representing UJ.
Thank you very much,
Absolutely.
Dr. Pillay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open the floor up to questions now. So people may ask Ms. Odivense any additional tips or questions that they may have. I think everybody was happy with your presentation. It was very, very thorough and detailed. And I think this year's participants have learned a lot so far. There is a question. How did you decide which aspects to include in your study?
That's a really great question. That was really difficult, actually. So initially, before drafting the presentation or the script and all of that, I went back to my chapter 1, the proposal, and that is actually what led me to know which sections to include, which sections not to include. So I went to my chapter 1 and I read it just to remind myself what I said I was going to do. I'd actually forgotten what the chapter 1 had said, and I read the problem statement. That's the main part that I read, and I said, what is it exactly that I said my research is about? Because once you're, in the middle of your PhD, you're now focusing on different methodologies or different models. You're building models. You're experimenting, and sometimes you forget why you started it, or you forget what the initial problem was that you were trying to solve. And so it's always good to just give yourself that refresher to go back to chapter 1 and read that. So I read the problem statement, and then I was like, okay, the problem is that we're trying to solve, the cases of high blood pressure, and we see that the current treatment methods aren't working. Okay, that's the problem. And then I read the objective to say, okay, so what am I trying to do about that? And then from there, I read the significance of the study. And so then I started thinking that, okay, what do I want people to know about my research? I want them to know that there's this massive problem, right? Okay, and I want them to know that it's not just a problem that affects 2 or 3 people, but it's a problem that affects millions of people worldwide. Okay, that's good. And then I also want people to know that there is a solution that we are working on. But then now the challenge comes to the challenge is, how do you explain your solution in a very, very simplified in a simplified form? So then I started working on that to say, okay, how do I explain what the solution is in a very simplistic way? But essentially, focus on what is the problem and make sure that people understand or can relate to the problem, right? It's no use saying the problem is that light bulbs are orange instead of white. if people don't realize that that's a problem. You need to make them realize why an orange light bulb is a problem versus a white light bulb. You know, bring it back home to them and then explain what you're going to do about that. So that's what I focused on. Then I made sure to stay far away from explaining the different models that I've built or the different methods that I've compared. I stayed far from that because I realized that as much as that stuff is interesting or it's important for my study, it's not something that they want to know about. You know, they just really want to know, what are you doing and why, and how is it going to help me? So focus on what is the problem, what are you going to do about it, or what are you doing about it in your study, specifically focusing on what you've done so far that directly addresses the problem. And number 3, how does this help society going forward? So this is the so what. Why does it matter? Why does it matter that I've come up with this model that develops new drugs? Why does that matter? So then you explain that it matters because there are people who are suffering from this condition worldwide and they're not getting the appropriate treatment. And if they don't get the appropriate treatment, they can develop other diseases and sometimes even die. So it's important that somebody comes up with treatments in a rapid way so that we can treat these people appropriately so that their chances of survival are higher and their chances of even getting rid of this condition are increased. So those are the 3 things that I looked at and that I would suggest that you look at as well, making sure that you stay away from discussing the different methodologies and models and that. I hope that answers the question.
It's the participant has said, thanks, that is really helpful. And then there's another question that's actually directed to me, but ties into what you said. Is it allowed to break down the research, only present a certain part of the research, or should cover the overall thesis? So actually, I'll give you an example for the VYT, which is actually a 60-second presentation. We advise the participants to focus on only one part of their research if they were not able to incorporate their many different aspects. So yes, you are allowed to. Make sure your abstract reflects what you need to, though. And then the judges can ask you questions based on your broader scope of the research. Just be prepared for it. And if they ask you, like, they are like, well, this is not enough, like, what impact does it make? Then you will also take the opportunity during your question and answer session to say, this was only a part of my research. It ties into this different aspects on the broad scope, and collectively, this is what will happen in the end. But for the purpose of the 3-minute presentation, you presented on the main aspect or one aspect. If that answers your question, Tumelo. Again, like Odibense said, make use of that question and answer session. This will also show the judges how well you understand your research, that you can adapt it, you understand the eventual impact, social impact, and how you can expand your project. Okay, we have okay, sure, Jade. Thank you for telling us. Okay, then we have another question. You said, this is for Ms. Odibense. You said you entered the competition in the middle of your PhD, but entry requirements say you're eligible when you have achieved a certain milestone, such as submission of the final document for examining. Kindly clarify the minimum entry requirements. In other words, exactly at what stage? Oh, actually, that's a question for me. So if I go back to the entry requirements, it says that eligibility candidates who have successfully passed their confirmation milestone or progress review, including candidates whose thesis is under review. So that doesn't actually mean that it's submission of the final document. You've already, say you passed first year and there's a progress report. You just need to have completed a milestone according to that progress report. So probably data collection or basically you've submitted a progress report and you've achieved at least one of the milestones. It's not meaning that you need your final document handed in. It's more saying, to put this blandly, if you're at proposal stage, that is not a milestone. You need to have done work on the project at least, if that makes sense. Lozi? Does that answer your question? Okay, sure. Okay. Do you have any other questions? I do have a few more slides to get through, just to tell you what the sort of criteria is for selection. Okay. If there's no more questions for Ms. Odifense, once again, I'd like to thank her very much. You're inspiration to all of us. I was there. It was actually my first month and first event at this job. And it was great to see her win, and her mom, she was pretty excited. And it goes to show you that every PhD student has a unique journey, but we somehow go through the same sort of things. And it's nice to see our family who has been there with us, proud of all of our accomplishments. So well done once again. And last round of applause for you before I continue.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Pillay, and thank you to everyone else for having me. Just one thing. I think somebody had asked, can you present a portion of your study? That's exactly what I did as well, is I presented a portion of the solution. Of course, it was an important part of the overall solution, but yeah, it wasn't the complete study. I mean, the study is I'm still completing my PhD now this year. So last year, this time, I was, call it halfway through the PhD. So for sure, you can present a portion of your study. And thank you again for this opportunity.
And we will see you at the physical event on the 23rd of August.
Of course, I'll be there. And I can't wait to see all the presentations. I'm so excited.
All right, I'm just going to quickly move on to the how do I submit my entry. So you'll just go back to the 3-minute thesis competition tab. The first thing I want to say is that registration form that I mentioned, when you are applying, that's when you will fill it out. And then you go click on add submissions. And this is where you will be able to upload all your files. So again, abstract, script, the PowerPoint with the voiceover, your terms and conditions agreement. And I just want, okay, that's the next slide, sorry. So you'll upload and you'll say save changes. And then after you save your changes, there'll be 3 options: submit, edit, and remove. I just want to point out that you will only have 1 chance to submit the documents. And thereafter, it will be closed to you. You cannot really submit. So at this point, just check your submissions. If you do need to resubmit, we will allow a little bit of a leeway time. Say you missed a document or something, please just email us, because say if you submitted early and then we downloaded and we're already reviewing your submission, we'd like to avoid that, because then we won't go back to download and see that you actually changed your submission. So if you are changing it anytime from the time you uploaded to the submission closing date, please let us know via RCD inquiries. Okay, then once you actually say submit assignment, it will ask you to confirm. This is just a barrier for you to double check, and you'll confirm and press continue. And thereafter, you have successfully submitted. And then, like I said, I think we have like about 3 weeks to review it, and then we will provide you with feedback. And in terms of selection, we will first check that you are eligible to apply for this competition, the quality of your submission as well. So if you Eligibility and quality go hand in hand. Quality meaning whether you follow the rules, you've prepared your presentation according to the guidelines, that sort of thing. We also look at faculty representation because usually a lot of the sciences apply, and we would like to have a balanced faculty representation. So I did mention quality of submission and that compared against the guidelines. And then after that, if everybody's submission is 100%, on the best case scenario, we will go on the first come, first served basis. So I did mention, okay, what I did not mention that I'm mentioning now is if you have competed in the 3-minute thesis competition before, unfortunately, if you are a winner, you cannot apply again. But if you were just a participant, sorry, not just, but if you were a participant, then you are allowed to resubmit, but it needs to be have major revision from your last entry that you did the previous year. Failure to comply with the rules will disqualify you as well as incomplete submission. So for the physical competition, we are taking about 10 to 15 people. This is still to be confirmed after we've seen how many people have applied, and then we will try to adjust to the program accordingly. And if there are no submissions from a certain faculty, we will select submissions from another faculty to fill in the participant spots. Okay, and then I mentioned, sorry, I see a question in the chat. I'm going to get to that after the quality of submission. So this also ties into what I want to say is the review process plus the judges on the day will be looking at this. However, to the participants or to the selected students that go on to be participants, we will provide them with the rubric beforehand. But it basically covers this, the comprehension and content. I think Ms. Odifense outlined it very well. What's not here is impact, actually, which actually is a big factor that needs to come across during your presentation. So clear motivation, background significance, your research strategy or design. As she mentioned, don't be too scientific or academic speaking about it. Probably just mention it or use a different term for it that would be clearly articulated to the audience. The results and the findings, presentationally clearly described your conclusions, outcomes, and impact. And then engagement and communication. And I think most of us saw from the video how Ms. Odifense used her body language to properly explain what was going on in the slide and to basically grab your attention. So it's clear the language is appropriate for a non-specialist audience. Your presentation slide was defined and your enthusiasm for the research. And these are just points, but the rubric will have a score towards them. So it's usually a scale from 1 to 5. So I think actually this answers Tumelo's question. Yeah, if you haven't submitted your proposal or progress report yet, I don't think that qualifies you, as you would need to discuss your research findings as well. And that's what was meant by the milestone. I'm very sorry, but please apply for next year now that you're well equipped for it. Yeah, and that's the end of my information session. But you are very welcome to ask us questions on RCD inquiries while you are preparing your submissions. There are a huge team of us that are here to assist you and help you through this journey. And once again, I would like to thank all of you for participating and actually even taking the time to sit through this information session and for considering the 3-minute thesis competition. And in general, if you do attend our workshops and events, thank you for supporting the RCD unit. I will leave the floor open for questions before we close. Okay, no questions. And if I please may request that you fill out the feedback form, we will actually share the feedback comments with Ms. Odifense as well, so she can probably use this for any reporting purposes or for for her CV even, I guess. You can say that you properly trained the students beforehand. Okay, thank you everyone. And with that, I will end the session. All the best with your submission. I hope to see some of your faces during the physical event.
Yes, all the best, everyone. And don't be shy. Take on the challenge and just apply.
I'm officially saying bye now. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.